Hello, Claire. How are you today?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So maybe we'll start by introducing ourselves. Do you want to introduce yourself, Claire?
I'm Clare Evans. I'm the game director at Empire LARP.
And I'm Angus Foggie. I am a player at Empire, but I've started volunteering to do podcasts for Empire. In the game, I play Cormac Dunn, the editor of the Oathright. So I've been interviewing players for a while, and now I've started interviewing the game team. And Claire's going to tell us what that means. What is the game team, Claire?
So the game team is Matt, Andy, Graham, and myself. So we're the four people who make and discuss the big game decisions, but we are not all of the staff. So we also have Steve, who works in plot.
Steve Kirkbride does.
Yes. Cords, who works in admin, and Ali Pennington, who is our site manager. I'm worried I've missed somebody now.
And they are members of staff at PD, but they're not in the game team.
Yes.
Right. When you say big decisions about the game, what are those?
So we'll discuss basically everything. So if we were lacking when the Conclave redesign, that all came to the game team to be signed off at the end of it. It was discussed by everybody, it was written up by a couple of people, and then it finally comes back. So we'll discuss anything from a leash rules query that Graham's had to a weird background query that I've had to a complete redesign of part of the game.
Right, and that's about role playing issues and cards and hit points and
Game issues rather than site issues.
okay, so where like the line between Dawn and Wintermark, is that a game issue or is that a site issue? Like the tents?
That's a site issue. So we might talk about where a new road is going to go for practicality, for how it would affect the flow of the game and anything that's happening in that area. But that would be Ali for how it actually works and why it's going there and how it's being built.
Okay, and so your title now is game director.
Yes.
How long have you been game director?
Almost exactly 2 years.
How is game director playing out for you?
So I started at the start of February 2 years ago. And the idea is that I will take over more of Matt's work while Matt takes more of new site work as that happens.
Yeah, so he's working for so that's Unknown Worlds,
Yes.
the entity that's going to be managing this new site, which will be not just for Empire, it's also getting other LARPs to come and play on it.
Yes, we're very keen to support LARP as a hobby rather than just Empire. More LARP is more better for all of us.
And we'll get much more out of a site if there's other LARPs investing in it and using it.
Yes.
I really can't play any more LARPs in the UK though. I live in France. Traveling across for Empire is enough. So I want people to stop starting exciting new LARPs that I could join.
Okay. And start running them in France instead. Yeah.
Well, I started my own here, and that's
Oh, fantastic. What is it?
yeah, for teenagers.
Oh, brilliant.
It's mini Empire for about 40 teenagers. It's set in Astavia,
Yeah,
so they all speak French.
that's really cool. Have you seen there's a LARP in Australia that runs, which is based on Empire as well?
I heard that. Yeah, they've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Urzat's Empire over there.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos on YouTube. It's quite exciting to see how it's almost us, but where it's different to us. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't keep it. Like I thought I would keep mine pretty much the same, but then I want to let the kids make stuff up. You know, make up their own towns and cities and countries and whatever. So we'll let them do that.
Pretty cool.
Anyway, I should get back.
No, this is good because we've been talking a lot about teenagers at LARP recently because they're an in-between category. You know, they're between the academy and between adults, so that we've been talking about them a lot. So it's really nice to hear that there's more stuff being run for them.
Yeah, my kids are now 14, 15, and they're asking questions about whether they want to continue with Empire. I mean, one of them is obsessed with trading and is coming back to make yet more thrones. But the other one, she's less sure if she's got a place there. So what sort of activities are you thinking of putting in place for teenagers? There's already the academy and the cadets.
It's that older teenager group we've been talking about. Really, we want to be led by them because that's the whole point: is that they are citizens and people, and maybe they're too grown up for us to tell. No. I used to be a brownie leader a long time ago. Do you have context for brownies?
Oh yeah, I've got 3 sisters. They were all brownies.
Yeah, right. So the older brownies are too cool to be brownies. We'd rather support them in what they want to do. So we're doing a lot of talking and talking to people, talking to teenagers, and finding out what they want and what we could do that would enable them to do what they want.
Oh, that's interesting. I could ask my teenagers about that.
Yeah, please do.
Is there a way that we can get in touch? I mean, I suppose drop you an email.
Yes, please. feedback@profouddecisions.co.uk.
Feedback's interesting. I like sending in feedback emails now. I saw at some point you posted on Facebook saying you wanted feedback, and
I like your feedback emails because you send them in itemized lists.
yeah, with headings.
Yes, I really appreciate them.
Because you then split them up.
Yes, so they all come to me, and then I either respond to them myself or I send the relevant sections onto the most appropriate other person to answer them directly.
So often it's just, well done, that bit was great. There's not really any reply.
Yeah, we like those. But when I get those ones, I pass those on to the relevant member of crew as well, so they get the endorphin boost from seeing what they've done has made a difference to somebody.
Yeah. So you said that you're taking over more of Matt Pennington's old tasks as he's moving up to Unknown Worlds, and you are a director. Is everything done in a group, or are you? I mean, some of the stuff you just have to decide. You mentioned Crack and Bone Cups. Was that you that decided?
that was an email from a long ago. That was my example of how strange my job is, because it could be talking about sanitary bins for the toilets one day, and the next day it could be sort of a niche. That one was a niche plot question. Somebody had killed a kraken and wanted to make a cup out of its bones, which led to a long discussion about whether kraken have bones.
And do they?
We think that was Graham and I discussed it. We think they're more like squid or octopuses, and maybe there's a beak that you could carve.
Yeah, that was my image of it too. Yeah, it's big tentacles coming out of the sea, wrapping around your ship, that kind of thing. That's the illustrations we used in the Oathright for our Kraken's Bane, Alex there. So what are these tasks that you're taking over from Matt? What are you actually doing?
So I suppose the feedback email is the big one, because everything that comes through the feedback email comes through me. So I respond to that, or I sort of divvy it up and send it to different departments to comment on, and they either reply to the person or reply to me to reply to them.
Right. I suppose those feedback emails sometimes contain quite serious, like, stuff to work on, stuff that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we love the God staff. We're lovely to us emails. Those are fantastic, because we pass any emails like that on to the teams thereabouts, so they get the little boost for seeing how their work has had such an impact on these games. But we get serious ones as well, and we do read absolutely everything and reply to everything, which sometimes takes a lot longer than you would expect by the time we talk to multiple people.
Yeah, it must. And presumably some of them lead to quite long organizational changes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and because we read and consider everything, something might not change immediately, but that will be that'll be in our minds and will be built on with more emails, and you might see a change much later on that's come because of an email we had. A comment about Conclave could be in the back of our minds and then come up when a Conclave review happens or something like that.
Yeah, let's just can we go over who's in the game team and what they each do, just so that I'm clear. So
we have Graham, who is head of rules, and our finance director. So if I'm being flippant, anything with numbers in it is Graham's problem.
ICROC numbers.
Yes. We have Andrew Rafferty, who won't let me call him Andrew. And he is I'm not sure how we're wording it at the moment. He's our head of campaign. So everything is Andy or Andy and Matt's own child. So anything words is Andy. Matt, now it gets a bit blurred between Matt and I, because we're still in a handover process, because I'm not sure if Matt has been running the company for a long time and I have to persuade him to hand over sometimes.
Right, yep. Give up the reins, not easy.
He's been running PD for 20 years and he's been running games before that. It's a big thing to change the momentum on.
Okay, so we did Graham, Andy, yourself. That's the four of you in the game team, yeah. And then also working for the company, we've got Alison Pennington, who does the site.
Yes.
So she's managing, and she's an employee of the company as well.
Yes, she is.
That's a full-time job.
Yes. There's planning and safety and maintenance and all sorts of things that have to be done all the time. So she's got a lot.
Yeah, must have a lot of paperwork as well as driving tractors. And then Steve Kirkbride. Does he work for the company or is he a volunteer?
Steve works for the company. He's our I'm not sure what his job title actually is. He's sort of plot admin and assistance. So he will answer queries to the plot email address. He does a lot of work on the wiki, linking it and updating it and making it flow. He does a lot of work with sanctioned events. Do I know more about what Steve does than anybody else? Steve's been really good. Great to have him.
All of these people, except perhaps Alison, have IC roles as well. You all have character.
Yes, we do. I think Ali will be the first to say that she is not a LARPer, which I think is good for us in some ways.
So you play Secretary General Kaya? Kaya?
Kaya, yes.
So you're a civil servant.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what does the Secretary General do?
If I'm honest, it's mostly a fig leaf for me to be on the field interfering. So all the field NPCs report to me, so the civil service report to me, and the magistrates and the egregores. So quite often I just need to be on the field to speak to people, check things out, and make sure things are going the way we want. It's hard to think of examples without being specific about things. If Jonathan has a query about something in the synod, I might go down, speak to him, get the synod paperwork, run up, double check it with somebody and run it back, and things like that. So having a character with influence in the civil service is useful for me to be able to go in and do things when I need to do things.
This is about communication. This is so
Yes.
The magistrates can try a thief. They don't really need to talk to anyone. They know what they're doing. But sometimes the magistrates get involved in something complicated and messy, and
yes,
then you're going to go and speak to them.
Yeah. And also I'm a winter marker, so I can go to Lumi's when I need to as well.
Well, everyone needs to go to Lumi's as often as possible.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Jonathan there. That's Jonathan Kidger?
Yes. So they are the in-character heads of the civil service, and they run the team out of character as well. They've been doing that for me for, I'm going to say 2 years, but probably means it's longer.
Right.
I know. One of our friends always says 5 years ago in the 90s.
Yeah, I know how that feels. Now, when I was asking you about this before, and I'm asking you about all these different people's jobs, because each time I asked you a question, you said, "Oh, I could talk about that, but maybe you should talk too," and then you would name someone else. So we talked about NPCs, and I think we're going to talk about egregores in a minute.
Who did I tell you to talk about then?
You told me to talk to Kat, Q, and Phil.
So Phil is head of plot production, and Kat Quotemas is one of our. We have a small team that leads the plot writers. So that's leaders in support rather than leaders and tell them what plot to write. And Kat is part of that team.
Okay, so she's wrangling the various.
Yes. Helping rather than wrangling. So we've been growing the plot team over the last few years, and running out plot in Empire, running out plot anywhere is quite complex because you've got to write a coherent plot with the world, you've got to get it costumed, you've got to get it timetabled, you've got to get NPCs, and you've got to get it out the door. So we have a team who lead the plot team who help with things like that and help the plot writers actualize their plots.
Okay, this plot team there, like on the other side of the hedge.
Yes.
Somewhere, sitting in the monster tent.
Yes.
Running around trying to find the right kind of ears.
Yes.
But the part of NPCs that you were very much was your area was egregores.
That's where I started at Empire, yes, was with the egregores, where I started and gradually took over.
Have you been an egregore?
No, I haven't. First year, that horrible cold year, we had a new player plot team, which we thought was how we were going to run things. And we thought that would pick up new players and write plot for them and bring them into the game. And I don't think we understood the enormity of what we were talking about at that point. At that point, we had one egregore in every nation. And it became apparent during that year that we needed that team to have a sort of coherent lead. And that lead was Sam Sutton. And after a few years, Sam quit and engineered. No, I don't mean engineered. Basically, Sam set me up, and I ended up running the team. And we've just developed from there because like I say, originally we had one egregore in every nation, and that was utterly impractical for places like Wintermark. I think we worked out at one point when Judge was the egregore that if he spent 5 minutes with every player during time in, he wouldn't finish speaking to everybody. So it started to become apparent that we needed multiple egregores in every nation. And obviously we do, don't we? Because then they cover different aspects of the game. They have different personalities which appeal to different people. So we've gradually built up that team. I think we've got about 50 now.
There are 50 egregores. Wow.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not 50. I'm thinking of the extended team. I'm counting the civil service in there.
All right, okay. Egregores plus civil service is
Yeah.
50. Still, it's huge.
Yes. Yes, because we have at least 2 in every nation, apart from currently Varushka, but I'll sort that out. Then of course, once we had the egregore team up and running, we were starting to notice things like we had people turning up who were new to LARP and didn't know what they were doing. So we started running new player meetings. And I think our first meeting we ran upstairs in the tavern. So it was upstairs in the tavern, so it was that long ago. I think we had about 6 people there. And now we do 3 every Friday to about 100 people each.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes. Yeah.
Massive. So going back to the egregores though, how do you recruit egregores? Where do they come from? You said you needed one for, was it Varushka?
You're not going to like this answer. Nobody likes this answer. Vibes.
Right. Yeah. Well, clearly it's a very vibey job.
It's a very vibey job. So we need to find what you can usually see when you look at a nation is that between the egregore team and what's happening in the nation, there's probably some area we're not supporting very well, or not supporting as much as we could be. So we look for an egregore who could be a priesty leaguer. And then we sort of think about everybody we know who could fill that gap. We think of everybody who's ever expressed an interest in filling that gap. We chat to the league egregores and see if they've got an idea, because also you want somebody who will work with the team who's already there, because there's absolutely no point in disrupting that team if it's working. And we just, yes. So it's always worked out so far.
And so, you're picking them to specifically fill an area. Does that mean that when a new player is going to take on an egregore, you're like they're making up a new character with a new focus, and there's you're not just taking on the standard egregore template that was there already and doing what the previous one was doing.
It's hard. So an egregore will generally be a new character. We have occasionally had existing characters become egregores, but that's not our preferred choice because an existing character has existing connections and biases and enemies and friends, and we'd rather not have that. And quite often, our egregores are quite big characters, so there's no point trying to replace them. You want somebody who will stand on their own. I mean, you're Wintermark, aren't you?
Yes.
I can't find another exact John Haynes.
No. I wouldn't try. Yeah, no, John will be John.
It wouldn't be fair to John's successor to make them try and be John. I'm not firing John. I should make that clear to everybody. John's not getting fired.
So yeah, you say they're quite big characters. I suppose part of the point of an egregore is that they're demonstrating how to roleplay. They're doing it for you, so you can see what a role player does.
It's a really difficult job because they've got to have enough ego to stand up and be the egregore and get people to point at them, but they've got to have enough self-awareness to step back and let the players take the limelight at the last minute. It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, because I've had sort of conflicting experiences with egregores. I think because of that, sometimes, I've quoted them in the newspaper saying the most outrageous things, very much on brief for their nation, but wildly controversial statements that are presumably suitable to the league gossip of the day, or big barnstorming speeches about the terrors of the Thule, Druge, Cold Sun. It was Cold Sun.
Of course, the thing people don't sort of think about with the egregores is the egregores are national rather than imperial, and their thoughts about imperiality vary depending on their nation's thoughts about imperiality.
Yeah, John is very much Wintermark first. Yeah.
Yeah, so they will comment on Wintermark first, and then the Empire second.
And one time I got assaulted by an egregore and took him to court. They're very much.
Which one?
Urizen.
Was it Grud?
No, in Urizen.
Oh, well.
He was under a curse.
Oh, right. Okay, I'll let him off that.
Yeah. And I had written a really inflammatory headline in the newspaper.
I'm not going to say it sounds like he deserved it, but also.
I think I did a bit. Yeah. Good day, that one. So they're very much playing the game, but on the other hand, I've been turned away from going to the egregores because I'm not a new player. I don't need help. I can go and play my own game. And the egregores are not necessarily there to.
They're there for everybody. I think we made a mistake in the early years by using the phrase "new player" so much, because I think it caused exactly that problem and turned people off from asking for help if they were existing players. We did try to sort of rebrand as player support, but it never really caught on. It does worry me that people don't come for help when they could. We see it as well with, we run a whole raft of introductory classes on Friday afternoons. They always get billed as new players, but the only ones that are restricted to new players are the new player skirmish and the new player meeting. If you've started a new character and you're wanting to get involved in Magic and haven't done before, you are more than welcome to go to the introduction to Magic.
Yeah, and these things presumably are going to have a lot of useful information in them. I don't really know much about Magic and Empire.
Yeah, the team are there to help anybody, and please, nobody should think that they can't ask for help because they're not new. Also, when do you stop being new?
Yeah. Well, my kids came back from one of the new player meetings and told me a whole load of stuff about Empire that I didn't know.
Brilliant.
There was something when I started. I don't know if presumably there was a new players meeting, but nobody told me to go. I got briefed by my group.
I think that we have got better and better with new player meetings and with the sort of player support stuff we run on Fridays in general. I think we've got better and better. I'm really proud of the team who do the new player skirmish. I think that's really beneficial.
So what is on offer for the new players? You mentioned the Magic one. There's the new player meeting, the Magic one, then the skirmish.
There's a magic one, a synod one, an apothecary one. There's a new player skirmish, which we do limit to just new players because we want a space where you can make mistakes safely and not an excuse for an extra fight. We run a couple of introduction to combats where they talk about combat safety and demonstrate some of the real calls and things like that. There's an archery one as well. We run 3 new player meetings, which are all the same. It just makes it easier to split everybody up into smaller groups. At midday, there's a LGBTQ plus meeting for new players.
Maybe you say new players, but these are all open to anyone except for the new player meetings and the skirmish.
So the LGBTQ plus meeting, I think they ask that new players to come at midday and then everybody to come a little later, just so there's time to meet each other before everybody flocks in. Yeah, 12 to 12:30 new players only, 12:30 to 1:30 a wider invite. Last year, Amy and Dave started running an introduction to the Senate as well.
That's telling people. I mean, and we've had new players show up as senators, people who have barely started, and then they're elected in,
Brilliant.
making their speeches. So yeah, I can see.
I think I love it because our new players these days are generally speaking new to LARP, and quite a lot of them are new to role playing as well. And I think us more established LARPers have got preconceptions about how you play games. And I think we think a bit that you turn up, you serve your time, and you do this, you do that, and then you run for a position. And I really like that our new players are just going for it. That's what the game's about. I love it.
Mm-hmm. You don't need to know the political situation to stand in the election. You can just go stand, find out later.
Yeah, and just, you don't have to serve your time or anything like that. Just go for it.
But on the other hand, there is also, if you're looking to become a general, you might not win your first election.
Oh, do you? Yeah, do your homework.
In all these meetings, that's an enormous amount of information that's being passed on, and a lot of advice, presumably, it's given to these new players. What stuff do you get good feedback on? What gets them enthusiastic?
So single-handedly, the best thing we've got is I'm new to Anvil. That's absolutely the best thing we've got. So I'm new to Anvil is sort of a code phrase, which it's not a code phrase because it's a perfectly valid thing to say in character. And we've been talking. I'm sure you're aware of I'm new to Anvil.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. It's a meta technique.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of how the whole community has embraced it. So what we say to the new players is, if you're in a conversation and all of a sudden it's gone off at top speed and got really technical about the political situation in our survey and you don't know what it is, perfectly okay to say, I'm new to Anvil, could you explain that? And people should take a step back and explain it. And what we say in the new player meeting is, if you meet the person who's not prepared to respect that, go and talk to the other 3,500 people.
So what else do people like?
We do give information, but we try not to just give information. We try to give signposting for where to go when you need something, because you're not going to take all that information in just before you start LARPing, because you're about to go play the game and everything's going to happen and everybody's going to tell you anything. You don't have to retain the information, but retaining the places to go to get help if you need it is important. So we talk a lot about, going to God, going to the egregores, going to the civil service to ask questions. And the other thing about going to a new player meeting is you meet a bunch of people who are also new. And I think that's a really useful thing because you'll see, 60 to 80, 60 to 100 new faces at that meeting. who you will recognise as the weekend goes on, which gives you people to nod to, people to chat to, and you know that you've got something in common with them already. And I think that's a really important part of them, particularly if you go to the magic ones or the apothecary ones, because then you also know that that person's interested in your little bit as well.
Yeah, it's a huge amount to take on. I found myself in every battle for years asking the person next to me, how many hit points do I have before each battle?
Do you not have a handy cheat sheet?
I didn't. No, I'd kept it carefully in my tent, and then I was like standing in my chainmail
Yeah.
about to fight, wondering how many hit points I had. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really hypocritical, right? Because I'm really nervous talking to you today. Okay. Whereas if you talk to me at the end of the season, I'd probably be fine because I talked to 1,000 new players over the year. But I see a lot of the sort of player support and new player work as what we need to do is identify the source of people's anxiety and remove it. And whether that's answering a specific question they've got or telling them where to go if something goes wrong or what they're going to eat at events. And that's what the new player meetings are. It's like, see these people, this is where to go. This is us telling you it's okay to speak to us.
I like that idea of finding the anxiety and then trying to remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're anxious now, is there anything I can do to help
No, it's good.
to remove that anxiety?
No, we're talking about the subject I love now, so I'm great.
Right. I think all of this has been great. It's really interesting talking to you.
I think it's important that I talk about being anxious doing these things as well, because I think it's easy to turn up to the event and assume that absolutely everybody there knows exactly what they're doing and are utterly confident in doing it.
Yeah.
Because we all give that impression, don't we? Yeah.
Everyone else is shy too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but I'm just pretending.
Yeah.
It's my character who's not shy. I am terrified.
My dad said to me years ago when I was going for a job interview, can't you just role play and be the person they want to hire? And I think about that quite a lot. So sometimes I joke that it's profound decisions, Claire.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a theory that role playing was invented by some neuroatypical people as a means of practicing social interaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything we do when we're tiny, isn't it, is role playing. Because you play with toy cars and you write a story with them and you act it out. It's all role playing. I think it's I think LARPing is amazing. I think role playing is amazing. I think LARPing is amazing because I see so many people use it to work things through, either aspects of themselves or situations they know they're going into in life. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I find it a huge help for.
Oh, also, it's just fun as well. I think it must be amazing to be like 10 years old and go to Empire and there's a whole world and all the grown-ups are playing pretend as well.
Yeah, all the grown-ups have agreed to play all weekend.
Yeah.
They're not going to stop.
I think it must be fantastic.
Yeah, no, it really blew my kids away when they were 5, 6 that everyone's playing all the time.
Just play it, yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so they set up a little stall where they sold things to people going by. They had pieces of string and stones off the ground.
And they sold them, didn't they?
Oh, well, they did, of course.
I have a little bag, and this is my bag of things that I have bought in the field, which lives on my desk. It does actually live on my desk, but I finally got by the kids last year, and that's what I bought.
You bought a bag of little glass beads that you might use to count your lives in Magic the Gathering.
Finally got. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, this is my bag of little things that people have sold me in the field.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to have kept together.
Back in the pile.
So one subject I wanted to ask you about was about women and non-cis people in LARP. Because when I was young, when I started out 30-something years ago, 30, nearly 40 years ago, it was pretty male-dominated hobby. I think the first woman I role-played with who wasn't my sister or my mum, I'd been playing for 8 years already.
Oh wow! Also, I like that your mum was role playing with you. That's cool.
Well, she was knitting at the same time. She wasn't the most involved.
You can crochet and knit and role play.
Yeah. No, she was always keen to play with us.
Yeah, there used to be a knitting club in there used to be a Stitch and Bitch club in Dawn. I don't know if they're still running.
It's absolutely true. Actually, nowadays, if a player wanted to knit in my game, I'd be fine with that. I've had people paint miniatures in my game, and it's not using your hands is fine. But back then, I didn't know a lot of things that I know now. So it seems to me that at Empire, there's still, at my age group, it's probably still male heavy. But then looking at the new players, I just eyeballing, it seems like they're more sort of 50-50 split.
We don't collect gender data.
You don't?
No, because we don't need it. We don't need it for anything other than that would be interesting, which isn't really a good enough reason to collect it.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So
So I can't give you facts.
there's no official line on that.
Yeah, so I think our gender balance is pretty good these days.
And has been getting better.
But I think that's true for LARP and role playing actually altogether, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, very much. Yeah. It's the whole hobby.
Which is brilliant. I started in '98 in the LT, and our group was definitely male heavy at that point.
Yeah. I played LT back then too. Yeah, and it was very.
I think we were both bears, weren't we?
No, I wasn't a bear. I was a lion.
A lion. Oh,
Yeah, I know.
I can't say that. Some of the Prince Bishop's men are my very favourite people.
So do you think there is more we can do to encourage women to roleplay and to make them welcome and make it fair?
Always, there's always going to be things we can do because we can. You like heavy subjects, don't you?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. There's always going to be more we can do because we can talk. So Empire in character is gender blind, etc., and that's great, and that's how it should be. However, we still exist within the real world, so we still exist with all the problems that real world advertising and patriarchy and everything else brings with it, because we're all products of those places. So there's always more we can do because there's always more on a macro level and on a personal level because we've got to be conscious of our biases.
Mm-hmm.
All of us,
Yeah.
because we do have them. It's. I think we're getting better. I think we're going the right way, and I mean, the big thing is that we want to be inclusive and supportive. We actually want it, not just want to talk about it because it looks good.
So I've talked to Matt before about how we can both be playing our characters and thinking about the effect this is having on the players and whether or not players are happy. That was when we were talking about conflict, whether you can be playing in a conflict scene, playing your character is very mean, but also evaluating whether the other player's having fun and this is a good scene and maybe you should move on and talk to someone else. And I think we can do that with sexism too. We can play a gender blind system at the same time on the other side of our head we can be thinking, is this sexist, this situation? Like, we need to make sure this group is not just the guys again going on this skirmish or whatever.
No, yes, and the other thing is this femme-presented person being heard? Are people interrupting? Are people talking over them? Because I will tend to step back and let other people talk, and sometimes I just need to be shut, or I need the space there for me to speak. And I think I am pretty confident in that field, and if I need that space, other people probably do too.
It's something I've talked to Amy about for the Senate. Right? How do we help people who might have quieter voices or not be as tall get equally heard by everybody?
We all get excited and want to say our thing before we forget what it is. We all do that. So it's just, I think, important for us to look and see who might be spoken over, who might not be getting the space to speak when they need to. I think we're going the right way. I'm proud of what we're doing, but we are always looking for where we can do more.
Have you got any examples of places where you think we have done better, like things were improved?
Yeah, we put benches in the military council, so everybody was sat down, not pushing people out the way to look at the map.
Oh, I never saw it before, the benches. So it used to be a crowd of people leaning over each other trying to see the map, all bunched up around the table. Yeah, that must have been difficult.
Which is obvious now once it's said, isn't it?
Yeah. These things often are, and they seem inevitable once they've happened. But before they happen, someone had to think of it. Someone has to speak up.
It is hard because as we've said, you bring real world sexism into places with you. But I think we're getting better. I think we have a healthier. I'm not saying anything's fixed, but I think we have a healthier attitude towards femme-presented people than we did, than we the world did. We've just got to not let it slip and keep pushing these things, keep making sure people are speaking, keep making sure people get chances. For one glorious moment a couple of years ago, we had a femme-presented general in every nation, and then they killed the next day. I think it's important to have role models and to give people space to show they can say their things. Yeah, in my head, I'm much more eloquent about this.
That is very interesting.
I'll walk down to the shop later and I'll think about all the eloquent, witty ways I could have put this.
And then we'll jump back on and we'll re-record some
Yeah,
bits
yeah.
and copy them over the
I'll
top.
just send you voice notes. Yeah. I've got one bit to add to that, right? If it's not working that way, and if you are experiencing problems, we want you to tell us because we can't fix the things we don't know about. I think it's really important that we do have mechanisms and processes in place to deal with, things like being misgendered or discriminated against, and we want to know if that happens.
Excellent. So that's to the feedback email.
Feedback email or conduct email, whichever one you want to go to.
And it doesn't matter too much which one you email. I mean, if you've got the wrong one, you'll pass it over to the right one.
We are perfectly capable of forwarding emails to each other, so it is all right. Yeah.
So perhaps we could finish up. I could ask you what you're doing at the moment. What's this week looking like? What are you working on?
I have a podcast with you today, and I got a podcast with the LARP noobs tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. The LARP noobs are good.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to talk. They want to do LARPing 101 this season. So we're going to talk about preparing for your first events and things to think about that you for going LARPing, which I'm quite looking forward to. What have I got this week? I've got a conduct meeting this afternoon because we have one every week. I have a game team meeting on Wednesday. And on Friday, I'm going to mitch off and go for breakfast with my mates.
Nice. What are you going to be talking about at the game team meeting? Do you already have an agenda in place?
I think Matt wants to talk about sodalities, but Matt always wants to talk about sodalities. Other than that, I've got some bits I'm writing up about battle safety. And I've got, for some reason, I woke up this morning to a whole load of emails from people who want to join crew.
Excellent.
Which is great. And I'll be working through those for the next day or so. It's really easy to go into like hibernation mode over the winter and just tick over. And now you've got to kick yourself out of it properly.
Oh yeah, I know how that feels. I've got a newspaper to write.
Do you enjoy doing it?
Oh, it's brilliant fun. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And when it was just me and Brian, it was pretty stressful sometimes, worrying if I could fill it. But now that we've got a great team of people, there's lots of contributors, and they're all writing different stuff and sending it in. It's much more fun. We know we'll be able to fill the paper for sure, and we're playing with friends. Good.
Good. I'm glad. I think the newspapers are brilliant. They add a lot to the game. Also, we always get a good photo of Harry Harrell, the Speaker for the Senate, reading one in one of the bars.
Yeah, I think they let something that happen. Role playing is very ephemeral. An event really only happens once for the people who were there. And so it gives some of the events a second chance. They get another chance to be played out. Some big moment like a battle gets repeated in the newspapers. You can read about it. You can relive that moment. You can replay that moment. You can splutter over the newspaper and say, "That's this rubbish. Never not how it happened. I was there." It gives it that.
Yes, and you can read last event's newspaper and give yourself context for this event.
No, that's the service I hope to provide.
Yeah, it's really nice. I do.
Yeah, when I started playing, I realised that I never knew who had won the battles I'd been in. I was in it. I fought, but you left thing. Who won that? Was that going well for us? We don't know. All you know about is the orc in front of you, not what happened overall. So I wanted to report that and make sure that it's in the paper every time. This is what happened. Or this is what we say happened. Mm-hmm.
So, do you think you are a broadsheet or a tabloid?
Oh, I think I'm a broadsheet. Of course I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I expect real world tabloids think they're broadsheets too. Everyone thinks they're telling the truth. No one thinks they're biased. Everyone thinks everyone else is biased.
You have had some excellent scandalous headlines.
Yeah. They used to be more clickbait. When I was first starting out, the headlines were deliberately provocative. And now that we are the newspaper of note and well known and so on, and we are a little bit calmer with the headline. Yeah, but still, you've got to reduce things down to black and white to make it fit in a headline. So bound to be provocative.
Yeah, you got to get your 5 words.
Totally. Yeah, it has to be 5 words. Yeah, and then the first paragraph's 30, and that should have told the whole story already. All nuance can.
Yeah, I just want to ask you what the next event's headline is, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, do you know, I wouldn't even be able to answer that question because it's too much information to keep in my head at once. So I can't easily compare it. Last time it was about the World War, and this time, it's got to be the Sweet Blades Massacre, and it has to be that. That's the biggest thing that's ever happened, I think.
The Newick Tears.
The Newick Tears, indeed. Yeah, I was disappointed to have missed it as Tears, so I'm delighted now that there's been one in my era.
I like that the game has run so long that we have things that are in game but are history.
Yeah, I was talking to Roz about this because we can now quote the previous emperor. You know, we can compare emperors. We can say, oh, the old one said this. How come the new one isn't doing it? All right, Claire, thank you very much for that. That was really interesting. I enjoyed that.
No, thank you for talking to me. Thank you for giving me the kick to get back into the swing of things.
Great. Well,
See, I'm relaxed about it now.
yeah, no, well, we can be.
Yeah,
We're both
yeah.
relaxed now. It's done. All right. Well, thanks a lot. I will stop recording.
Yes, thank you
Cheers.
for having me.